Sometimes I like to read several books, get in contact with historians that are experts on the subject, and make a pretty serious video. And other times, I like to get completely unhinged and rant about some stuff that I think is funny. And by sometimes, I mean today, right now. Today we're talking about my favorite tank, ladies and gentlemen, America's only super heavy tank, the T-28, aka the Doom Turtle. Now, I said this is my favorite tank, which is a completely unquantifiable metric. Despite that, somebody in the comments is still going to tell me that I'm wrong. So if you think I should have a different favorite tank, go ahead and tell me about it in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a video about that one too. Okay, and just to be clear, when it comes to me and things like tanks and planes and guns, favorite is not the best, it's not the most impactful, it's not the most historically relevant, it's just the coolest / dumbest one around, and in my opinion, this is it. So let's go ahead and get into this right after an awkwardly relevant word from our sponsors. This video is brought to you by War Thunder. They've got over 2,500 tanks, planes, and ships, pretty much every military vehicle from World War II until modern times, including all the cool, weird, and obscure ones that may have never even actually seen combat. For example, let's say that I wanted to be the T-28, aka the Doom Turtle, America's only super heavy tank. I can do that. Then I can go over to X-ray mode, look at all the different components, check out all the specs, actually learn about the tank. Then I can hop over and I can customize it. Because let's face it, I don't just want to be the Doom Turtle. I want to be the Doom Turtle covered in bushes so I can try to sneak up on the enemy like I'm a 200,000-pound Wile E. Coyote with a 105mm howitzer for a nose. Then we throw an American flag on one side and some smack talk on the other, and now we're ready to go play the game. Now, once we start playing, the cool part is that it's not like a lot of other games where you just shoot at the other enemy tank and a hit is a hit no matter where it lands. No, in War Thunder, you can take out individual components of the enemy tank. For example, let's say there was a guy on a mobile artillery piece and that one guy in particular was talking smack. You can address him individually. Or maybe you're approaching an enemy tank and you fire, but your shell doesn't get penetration, and now it takes a while to reload, so you just open fire with your 50 cal right through the window slit, giving their driver a nice metallic face high five. Then, once you get the gun reloaded, you can finish taking out the rest of the crew. Or sometimes you just get that lucky shot where the shell goes straight through the enemy tank and detonates their ammunition. And the best part about all of this is that it's free to play on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. So if you wanted to give it a try, we'll have a link and a discount code in the description down below, and when you use my link, you're going to get all kinds of freebies to get you started off on the right foot. Let's get back to the video. All right, the Doom Turtle. It is a World War II era tank that was designed for one reason and one reason only, and that is to punch through the German Siegfried Line. If you don't know, the Siegfried Line is Germany's western border where they have essentially tried to fortify it to make it impenetrable to the Allied forces approaching so that they can't break into Germany. It is approximately 400 miles of concrete pyramids known as Dragon's Teeth, making it so tanks and other Allied vehicles can't pass through. Then on the other side of the Dragon's Teeth, you typically had other things that were meant to stop foot soldiers like moats, barbed wire, booby traps, and on the other side of those was over 18,000 bunkers with machine gun, mortar, and artillery positions that were going to, in theory, be able to mow down any ally trying to advance through those obstacles. Now, the American military and government knew about the Siegfried Line pretty much the entire time because German propaganda told them about it, and they portrayed it as completely impenetrable. So the American military in 1943 is like, okay, we're going to come up on the Siegfried Line eventually. Let's go ahead and get a plan in the works on how we're going to address it once we get there. Now, clearly, that plan should not rely on tanks, right? I mean, that's kind of the Siegfried Line's entire MO. It was designed, built, and implemented with the sole purpose of stopping tanks. We should probably do anything other than use tanks, right? Wrong, completely wrong. American engineers got told the Germans built an impenetrable tank fortification, and they're like, fucking bet, we'll see about that. We're going to build a bigger, better tank that's going to drive right fucking through it. America! Fuck yeah! So the engineers got to work. This is called the AT project, and what they came up with was, surely there's spots along the Siegfried Line where the German military has a gap where they can drive their vehicles through, right? Has to be there. They can't just have 400 miles and they drive all the way around. There's got to be points where you can pass through it. And obviously those points of passage are going to be the most fortified positions, right? They're essentially going to make a fatal funnel, a choke point where all of the Allied forces have to try to go through a narrow passageway, and on the other side, it's going to be loaded with German 88 anti-tank guns, German artillery, machine guns, mortars, everything. They're going to be able to slaughter anybody that tries to make it through that little tiny narrow passage. To which the American engineers are like, cool, obvious solution. We're just going to make a tank that can't die. Okay, it's going to be so heavily armored that there's no anti-tank weapon or artillery piece known to man that could kill it. Then we're going to put a gun on it that's so big that it can shoot through concrete bunkers and take out the enemy. We're literally going to drive this gigantic, heavily armored tank directly into the enemy choke point, stand there, take all their anti-tank fire, fire, be untouchable, and then we're gonna return fire and kill them first. Okay, do you understand how gangster that is? This is the ultimate dad dick maneuver. Just straight up like, I know exactly what your plan is. I know what you want me to do so that you can beat me. I'm gonna do it anyways, and I'm still gonna win because fuck you. So they made the Doom Turtle, the T-28, America's only super heavy tank. This thing is 36 feet long, 10 feet tall, and 14 feet wide. It has 12 inches of armor on the front, and it's weighing in at 95 tons. Okay, approximately 210,000 pounds. Okay, the human mind can't comprehend how heavy this tank actually is. It literally weighs as much as a blue whale, which also isn't helpful because most people haven't seen a blue whale. Okay, so it's like, where's my calculator? Toyota Corolla is like 3,000 pounds. Okay, it's like 70 Toyota Corollas, okay? This entire thing is like an entire parking lot got a gun strapped to it, and now it's coming to kill the enemy. Speaking of gun, they went with a 105 millimeter gun, okay? That is field grade artillery. This is literally a howitzer that they strapped to the front of this metallic blue whale. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you this thing is basically the Narwhal of death, all right? Which raises the question, why on earth did they go with the Doom Turtle and not the Narwhal of death? Well, it's because this thing's slow as shit, which is really the downfall of this tank, because somebody basically said, hey, we're going to build a 200,000 pound tank, and then we're going to put the same V8 engine in it that the M4 Shermans have. Yeah, the Doom Turtle is rocking a 500 horsepower V8 Ford engine, okay? Just for the record, if you don't know much about engines or horsepower, Dodge is out here making minivans with 1,000 horsepower that weigh 5,000 pounds, and the DoD thought it would be a good idea to stick a 500 horsepower V8 inside of a tank that weighs as much as a blue whale. Okay, the Doom Turtle's coming at you at the speed of mock potato. Pedal to the metal, balls to the wall. This thing maxes out at 8 miles an hour. So clearly they're gonna have to transport this thing all the way to the Siegfried Line, right? If they land this thing on a beach in Normandy and let it drive all the way across France, it's gonna take like 3 years to get there. And this is actually why the Doom Turtle has a unique look of having 4 sets of tracks instead of just 2 very wide sets of tracks like a normal super heavy tank would. And that's because those 2 outermost tracks come off and separate from the Doom Turtle, allowing it to be easier to transport, both because now the Doom Turtle isn't as wide and it comes apart in 3 separate chunks, making it all weigh significantly less than the original 95 tons. So they've got it all figured out, and by 1945 they start manufacturing these things. Originally they're planning on making 25 of them. They figure that'll be enough to punch through the Siegfried Line, but they build 2 prototypes first. So they get those prototypes built, then they're testing the first one, and the V8 engine that's trying to move 200,000 pounds obviously catches fire, burns out the entire inside of the tank. The entire thing is essentially a total loss. And while that was going on, the Allied forces managed to penetrate the Siegfried Line. How on earth did they do that without the Doom Turtle, you ask? Well, A, the Siegfried Line wasn't really all it was cracked up to be, according to the German propaganda. It definitely was not impenetrable. It was undermanned. It just wasn't as good as it was made out to be. So they just went and they sent out recon, and they found a couple of spots where they weren't well covered by like artillery and machine guns and booby traps, and then they just put a bulldozer out and pushed dirt over the top of the Dragon's Teeth, and then drove right over the top, got behind enemy lines, and took everybody out. Yeah, the Germans spent God knows how much money and man hours building this 400-mile stretch of concrete booby traps, and they got outdone by a couple of rednecks with a bulldozer. All that horsepower! So because of that, the Doom Turtle simply just wasn't needed anymore, so they stopped the project. There was one surviving prototype. They gave that over to Aberdeen Proving Ground, and they used that basically as a giant weight to test transportation equipment because, well, it was the heaviest tank they had, and if it could move the Doom Turtle, it could move anything else, so they used it for that for a little while. Then, one day, somebody just parked it in a field, and everybody forgot about it. A little while after that, people started asking questions. Historians, the public, museums, like, hey, where's that badass tank? We want to preserve it. We want to save it. It's a part of history. We want to stick it in our museum. Let me have it so I can take care of it. And the army is like, I don't know, bro, we lost it. Okay, now on one hand, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I know exactly how this happened. They just like had a couple of dudes go park it. They made it take all day. They parked it off in a field. Those dudes like retired, they left, they moved on, and then nobody remembered where it got parked, okay? Like I'm sympathetic to that. I understand how it happened. But on the other hand, how the fuck do you lose a 200,000 pound tank that there's only one of? Like, I would understand if you were like, oh, hey, we misplaced a Sherman tank because America made like 50,000 of them, right? But no, this isn't a Sherman tank. It's twice the size of a Sherman tank, and there's only one of them, okay? You could park it in a parking lot full of tanks, and you would still be able to find it. How on earth did you manage to lose a blue whale with a gun attached to it, okay?
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude? Dude, where's my car?
So that's it. It's just gone. It's MIA for the next 27 years. Nobody has any clue where this thing is at. And then one day, some hunter is out in the woods near a military base hunting, and he's like, hey, There's a fucking tank sticking out of those bushes.
Dude, there's your car.
Yeah, you guys thought I was being silly earlier with that War Thunder ad, didn't you? When I stuck a couple of bushes on this giant tank and pretended like that was going to conceal it. Well, history's on my side now because this bitch was incognito for 27 years because it had a couple of bushes on it. What now? So the hunter goes to the army. He's like, hey, I found this weird looking tank in the bushes. And they're like, oh shit, we've been looking for that thing. So the army then takes the tank. They give it to a museum in Fort Knox. So it's on display there for a little while. And then they decide that they're going to move it from Fort Knox to Fort Benning or Fort Moore Freedom, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be called now. The home of the infantry. They decide they're going to move it to the infantry museum at the home of the infantry. So they throw it on the HET trailer, the heavy equipment trailer, and they tow it all the way to Georgia. While they're towing it there, apparently they take a turn too hard and it breaks the chains off the HET trailer and the entire main cab of the tank flies into the ditch. Now granted, it was just the main cab of the Doom Turtle, so it didn't have the two outermost tracks, which is like a significant amount of weight, but still the main cab is 60 tons flying off your trailer into the ditch, so that's terrifying. Obviously the Doom Turtle completely fine, the paint got scuffed, no big deal, get it back on the trailer, they get it where it's going. Now here's my issue. I know for a fact that there are pictures of the Doom Turtle in a ditch somewhere in Georgia. I need those pictures. Someone has them on their cell phone. This happened in like 2017, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. I know one of the drivers in that convoy took a picture of it with their smartphone. It has to have happened. I want that picture for history so I can get it to the museum, okay? Get me that picture.
What are you waiting for? Chinese New Year? Go, go, go.
Sorry, so that's it. That's the end of the story. They get it to the National Infantry Museum, and that is where it is on display today. So in conclusion, that's my favorite tank for literally no reason other than it's completely ridiculous and I think it's funny. Literally from its inception, it was just designed to be a giant middle finger. The enemy told America, hey, you can't drive your tanks through here, and America said, hold my defense budget and watch this shit, and this is the monstrosity that they came up with, okay? I don't know if you can give a tank steroids or even test a tank for steroids, but if you can, test that one first. Now, is it unfortunate that it never saw combat? Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to think about if it did. However, that serves to highlight one of the most important lessons that I teach on this channel, and that is that the only thing scarier than engineers and defense contractors with an unlimited budget is a bunch of infantrymen on the ground with time on their hands, because that's what actually gets shit done. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out. Man, only the government could lose a 200,000-pound tank for 27 years, currently still be missing 6 nuclear warheads, and then tell me how dark I'm allowed to tint the windows on my car.